what thoughts are you having, what are the words that you're using, and which actions are you taking is really, at the end of the day, what defines and creates your own life and your reality.
You are now listening to the Highlight Reel Builder for Authors, the Going North podcast. I'm your host, certified self-leadership trainer and author of the best-selling book, Stay the Course, Dom Brightman. And you're going to be getting some goodies today from the guest that's up next. How's it going, my friend? I'm glad you're here. Welcome to the Going North podcast. If this is your first time listening, thanks a bunch for tuning in. If you're a returning listener, thank you so much for always sticking with yours truly, because it's definitely an honor to really dedicate some of your time to learning and growing along with me. Because today's guest in particular, my goodness, like you're going to be in for a treat. Like a lot of times, you may hear personal development conferences and some podcasts where they say take a bunch of notes, make sure you take notes. This is definitely one of them in particular. And it's so special that I basically had to hop on right before the actual interview and really give the backstory behind today's guest in particular, because my goodness, we've actually connected through Clubhouse, and you rarely hear me talk about Clubhouse because, one, I'm rarely on it, and two, I do so much it's hard to keep up with everything. Dr. Travis Fox, he actually hosted a room on there, and I met this wonderful gentleman, my man Alexei Musienko, and he's a wonderful gentleman. Good dude, kind-hearted dude. We had one heck of a great conversation after just linking up on Clubhouse. It was probably a good 90 minutes, and I gotta say, he definitely lives with a servant's heart, and he leads with a servant's heart, and servant leadership is definitely one of his qualities, because he, like, one heck of a dude. Like, you might be seeing some extra changes down the road with the show, but when things get a little more concrete, you'll definitely hear more about it. But just a little extra background, this wonderful gentleman right here, my goodness, Alexei, he actually has a super special, awesome book that's going to be coming out later this year, if not, I believe, in his birthday month, June 2021. And I'll be sure to put that link in the comment section. If you're interested, like, be sure to shoot him a line. Heck, even follow him on Clubhouse or Instagram. It's going to be in the show notes as well, to link up with them and just say, hey, I heard you on the Going North podcast. I want to learn more about you and that super special, awesome party you got going on for the launch of your book, Network and Grow Rich. Because he grew up in a small town in the Ukraine, and he moved all over the globe. Heck, even lived in Moscow, Russia, and went to school in South Africa, and he actually finished his schooling in the US of A, and even attended military school out in California, and he actually became a high-ranking official at that time, leading over 300 high school kids. And then growing up, heck, even starting a PC repair and PC building business at 16, to eventually becoming a multimillionaire, having a wonderful home, and a lovely fiance that he actually sadly ended up having to separate from the fiance, and he had a lawsuit situation, and he was basically depressed, and he had suicidal thoughts. And we do mention that in the episode coming up, so that does get covered. But definitely just wanted to give a backstory about it, because he was also facing a lawsuit issue too that really wasn't his fault, and he was able to come out of that through the power of mentorship of a wonderful mentor. Heck, even finding a piece of content that was basically hiding in plain sight for a whole year that he apparently misplaced 3 different times in 3 different copies of, and he finally was able to find it after getting through that situation. And now he's kind of like one of those underground secret entrepreneur millionaires, one of those unassuming people that when you have a conversation with them, it's like, whoa, my goodness, are you one of those metaphorical angels cloaking in human skin here? But just wanted to add that in, and that's going to be enough of my jibber jabbering. So check out this wonderful interview with Alexei. It's powerful stuff. And be sure to check out goingnorthpodcast.com, especially the tagline showstopper episodes, because if you enjoyed this episode and you're done with it, there's some more stuff that awaits you just like it on goingnorthpodcast.com. Now let's get on with the interview, my friends, and thanks again. And today on the Highlight Reel Builder for Authors, known as the Going North podcast, we got one heck of a treat for you today, my friends. There's this wonderful social media out there called Clubhouse where you find all these awesome people, and it's true because I met this wonderful gentleman thanks to Dr. Travis Fox's Clubhouse room. Jump in, and this dude is freaking amazing. It's basically it's like one of those secret underground. It's like you're this young journeyman, like on this great journey, looking for the ultimate martial arts black belt master. And you climb a mountain for like 3 freaking days, and you find him. And you just see him levitating in the corner, just being at peace. And it's like, what in the world? And then out of nowhere, you flying 50 feet across the room, and there's only a 25 square feet. So it's like that today, folks, because we got one heck of a guest for you today. The one and only, my man, the master of the book Network and Grow Rich. Let's give it up for Mr. AM in the PM, Alexei Musienko. How you doing today, Alexei?
I'm doing amazing, and a true pleasure and an honor to, show up for you, right? Levitating on my chair and getting a chance to not only, be with you, but also to serve your amazing audience.
Yes, sir. Indeed. It's definitely an honor, man, because I'm like, dude, it's actually kind of amazing. Like it seems to be a trend with those who have a high level of success, the real low key, and then you have a conversation with them. It's like, whoa, like my man just he's like, are you a ninja or something?
Well, when it comes to ninja or maybe even a master, I hate the term called guru, right? Because I'm only a person that's just maybe a step or two ahead, right, of the people that I get to, really serve or assist in their journey. And to me, it's all about you can do it, right? It's just a matter of removing a couple of rocks out of your path. Your journey and your ride can be a little bit smoother, and that's what I'm all about. And I do believe that people tend to have two mindsets, right? One is scarcity, or what I can call a poor mindset, or they can have a rich or a wealth mindset, right? Both are the same ideas. It's just how do you look at your life, right? And if you are at that place of where you are in scarcity, get to the idea of abundance as soon as possible, right? One of the times in my life where I felt like I had a lot of problems that I saw no way out, literally a mentor of mine slapped me upside the head. She goes, "You think your problems are big? Go out and help somebody that is less fortunate." And what that ended up doing, it actually ended up putting me into that abundance mindset, into that servant leadership, where I finally realized, wow, maybe my problems are not as big as I think that they are. And just by serving others, I was able to go through a shift from a life of luxury to a life of meaning. And when you are in that space and place of now looking at your life for meaning, it changes the game. And one of the biggest things that I want your audience to think about is this: whenever you're having your conversations, whenever you're meeting somebody, are you talking about money or impact? See, it's
Mm.
amazing how both of these mindsets carry their own language. So often when I meet somebody and their only thing that they can talk about is making money, getting that next deal, money, 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 money. Even if they have money, I know they have a scarcity or a poor mindset. But when you really meet a rich person with a rich mindset, they will always talk about impact. What is it that we're doing to serve others? And yes, we're going to get paid on the way, but it's all about service first.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Man, my man's dropping bombs already, baby, because it's so darn true. It's like that, and that's so powerful. And it is definitely true because with connecting with different people, you're so right about how each topic, especially when it comes to money versus impact, they each carry their own set of languages, and heck, even the classic limiting beliefs that carry along with them if they allow them to carry with them.
It's so true, right? And it really is a mindset shift first before anything else happens, right? You create your own reality, right? Your thoughts create words which create actions. So, what thoughts are you having? What are the words that you're using? And which actions are you taking? Is really, at the end of the day, what defines and creates your own life and your reality.
Amen to that. So, as with a lot of folks out there, especially when some folks may have let circumstances kind of dictate where their direction is going, like what helped you to really get to that point where you made sure your language matched your thoughts and to get your thoughts aligned with where you wanted to go?
The first thing that's really coming up when you were asking me that question is there's really only two states in life, right? You can either be at cause or you can be at effect, right? In other words, some others people say it either as a victor or a victim, right? Until you're able to shift your mindset into cause or victorhood versus mentality of victim, because here's an amazing thing that happens, right? When you are a victor, right, you own your reality, meaning whatever you do and have as a result of it, it's ownership. And also, the shadow side of it, the things that you don't have, is the result of the same thing, right? Too many people too often say I'm not successful because of outside force versus inside power, right? When they give that outside force the power, then they become powerless, then they become victims. And so the first step is really to take a look at your life and ask yourself, how am I responsible for my life? What are the things that may have done that would have caused the result that I'm seeing, right? To me, sometimes when we talk about this concept, I talk about you know one of those moments is a car crash, right? And some people would say, you know what, how can you predict a car crash? You don't have to predict it to take responsibility for that experience or that moment. you know how are you feeling? Were your mindset in the right place? Were you in a rush because maybe you overslept or maybe missed your alarm clock? Like, what are the things that may have contributed from your side? Because when you are able to look at those, when you're really able to shift those, your life will change. I promise you.
Ah, yes, sir, indeed. Yes, sir, indeed. You're so darn right. And it's actually interesting the fact that that aligns with something that we may have heard in elementary school, the law of cause and effect that we forget as we age.
Well, it's interesting you bring up the school system, right? Or the education system. To me, I really believe, even though it does do quite a bit of good for many people, I think it also does just enough disservice to others, right? Look at just one, instance. When we're in school and we were to possibly to look over somebody's paper, right? We were labeled as a cheater and therefore got a failing grade. But it's amazing how life doesn't work that way. If you do that in the same manner when it comes to business, it's called modeling. And when you do look on somebody else's paper, you do model what they're doing, you actually get rich. So if you just think about that for a moment and really think, what were you programmed as part of your education system, and what are the stories that you've chose to create around those situations for yourself that may be no longer serving you?
Oh, yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. And I feel like that's really where a lot of people have to really take into consideration now more than ever, especially last year, where by basically by force, we all had the force to make a lot of different changes in life. And now it's like, all right, we're a year past the pandemic and some change past the pandemic. And it's like, okay, what else do I have to change here? Maybe have to really readjust to really advance a lot quicker and a lot faster.
It's interesting that you bring up pandemic, and I'm gonna, take a moment to really be vulnerable and transparent, with your audience, right? Whenever the pandemic happened, I did go through the first 2 months of literally being lost, right? Even though I run some amazing businesses, I'm part of some amazing groups. it's almost like all of a sudden I forgot everything that I knew and all the tools that I had. And for 2 months, I was literally just watching TV almost like 24 hours because that was the only thing that I can do. Until I was meeting with a friend of mine and they said, listen, what are you doing? Right? You have all these tools, you have all this training that you've gone through. Can it be of value to you? And then I started remembering, oh my God, I actually, talk about funny. I started reading my own book. I started implementing the things that I talk about in there. I'm going, why did I not do that? Why did I allow myself to go off the beaten path? See, and the thing that made all the difference for me, again, going from cause to effect, right? What are the things that I was able to affect that I could focus on, right? It wasn't the big world economy. It wasn't even the virus. Those things I could never control, right? But what I did start focusing on, can I create content? The answer was yes. I can affect that. Can I talk to somebody and help them potentially do better? I can do that. So what are the things that you can control that you should be spending or investing your time into to create assets, to create opportunities, to create a better life?
Amen to that, and definitely kudos for the vulnerability because it's so darn true. Because like the first 2 months, especially, it definitely was interesting because no one knew what the heck we were going to be doing, and it's like, oh, this is totally new. Like it's a brand new virus, and like wear a mask, don't wear a mask. It's like spray, sanitize everything, wash your hands 50 times a day, and it's like, well, screw this. I'll just stay inside and just watch Netflix all day, or heck, I even got back into video gaming when the pandemic started. And it's like, wow, it's like you have all these tools, but at the end of the day, it just took the power of that good friend telling you, it's like, hey, just slap me upside the head, metaphorically speaking, telling you, hey, like, come back to earth here, buddy. Come on. You still got to do something. You still got to live life here. It's not all TV. Don't vegetate here.
Well, and sometimes that is what it is, right? And that's how I believe that you're serving the world, right? Your podcast can be that, so-called friend that's saying, hey, just check in with yourself, right? Where are you at, right? The pandemic might have been something unique, right, that we've never seen before, but it doesn't mean we haven't seen this pattern before, right?
Mm,
Whether it was, economic downturns or different things, it happened to, with pandemic, it happened to be all at the same time, but that doesn't mean that we haven't seen the pattern before, right? And one of the things that I've done in my life is I've set up, road flares, right? Or those, trap triggers. The second I feel myself going into hopeless or going into the mindset of being affected, I go, okay, stop, take a breath. What is real reality? What is perceived reality? And how can I go back into mindset and to action steps of being the cause versus being in this stage and the mindset of effect? So to me, because I've gone through enough of these cycles, enough down the pattern, I can see, those red flags and then banners. And hopefully for me and all your audience, that you start seeing the flags before you have to see the banner, right? And you were talking about pandemic was almost really a shift that was caused onto us, right? Because we weren't listening. We weren't seeing what was important to us. We weren't, doing the things that were really, really important, right? Whether it's spending time with our loved ones or, maybe doing the right things in your business, right? This is something that I talk to my clients all the time about, right? Just because you have a business doesn't mean that the business doesn't own you. And
mm,
what are those right things to allow you to own the business versus business owning you? What are the leverage and the systems that you have in the business that will help to support your lifestyle and allow you to actually do the things that you want to do, whether it's, have a good life, maybe volunteer and make a difference, or anything else that you might have the desire that's built in your heart, right? Our missions and visions were put into us for a reason, right? you wouldn't have a dream unless it was possible for you to achieve it. How you get there is up to you, but just the fact that you have a dream, that you have a desire, it means that you were designed for that exact thing. And that's what I want to make sure that everybody hears me, speak into their life.
Heck yeah, man. Definitely speaking to their lives, my man, because we all need it. Like, even those who may, on paper, have the highest levels of success, they may be in the higher echelons of life. They may have all this stuff that you may see on the social media or whatever, but on the inside, they may forget that they have a seed of greatness that was awakened because someone else helped them to realize it.
It's amazing, and I think this is a really important point to make, right? The dirty secret of the industry, that successful people still have problems, right? It doesn't mean because they are successful in one area of their life that the rest of the life is dialed in, right? To me, one of the pieces of content that changed my life was done by Freedom Fastlane, right? It's a podcast, and Ryan Moran was talking about the idea and the moment that he literally almost committed suicide because the shadow and the darkness in his head was overcoming the light, right? He was already making seven figures while still in college, running his business, and yet he felt broken. And to me,
Mhm.
when I heard that podcast episode, it made all the difference because for the first time, I realized that I wasn't broken because everybody before that, everybody's success story, their success reel was the only thing that they showed to their audience, right? Ryan was brave enough to say, you know what, yes, I have some things figured out, and here's some of the challenges that I have. To me, that is why one of the reasons why he is my current mentor until this day, and somebody that I check in with all the time, because I know he's not going to just tell me what he thinks that I should hear. He's going to tell me the whole truth and nothing but the truth. And that's what I think is really important. If you are having great success in one area, it doesn't mean that you can't be struggling in another. And if you are, find somebody that is successful in that area and ask them for some guidance. Get a map, maybe even a GPS.
There you go. There you go. Because if I'm not mistaken, I believe that's one of your passion projects to help encourage the message of suicide prevention because of your own past, right?
Yeah, no, I completely agree, right? One relationship away, right? The newest company that I've launched and really get to help a lot of people with is all about that same exact reason, that while looking back at all my successes and my failures, there was one constant pattern that was running again and again and again, right? Which was one relationship, right? For me, it was my best friend that kept me off the edge when it comes to suicide. It was a partner of mine that helped one of my businesses scale over six figures because of our relationship, right? And I really do believe that you're just one relationship away from the life of your dreams or the impact that you want to create in the world. So for me, one relationship away is not just my core message, but it's my life philosophy, right? And the thing that I want to make sure that people get, which is one of the most powerful concepts that I always talk about when I teach the principles of one relationship way, is this: make sure to keep your eyes open for things that you pray for, meaning
Hmm.
whether it's a desire or maybe it's a goal or maybe even if it's a person that you're looking to attract or bring into your life. The other aspect of that equation, never forget that you might be the answer or the thing that the others are praying for. That's the other piece that makes the whole relationship economy work, right? Where, yes, you might be going through something, but by just helping someone else with what they're going through can make all the difference. Like one of the newest company that we're also launching is called Global Prosperity Academy. The core message behind it's part-time entrepreneur, right? How can you have a plan B when plan A might be either A, working great and you can always have a plan B, or maybe plan A is not working and you need a plan B. right? But that relationship would have never happened if I wasn't in the servant mind of saying, hey, here's a mentor of mine. Let me gift them my services. Let me give them my mastery when it comes to my gifts. And as a result of it, he connected me with people that I would have never been able to meet otherwise. So think about what is it that you're praying for, and be open to how it can come into your life. Maybe it may look different than you thought that it could come into your life. Maybe it's mentorship. Maybe it's guidance like this podcast. Maybe it is somebody that you can connect on a local level. But then never forget the other part of the equation is that how can you be an answer, or maybe you are the answer to everybody else that might be praying for you to come into their life, for you to help them with your gift without asking for anything in return.
Yes, indeed. You heard that right, listeners. You may be the gift that someone else is praying for right now. And keep your eyes and ears open too after you pray for something too, because that's the other thing too. Sometimes we try to pray and forget and be like, oh, yeah, we'll be all right. God's got my back. The universe has got my back. And your prayer might have been answered and you weren't paying attention long enough to realize, oh, that was quick. It might be over with.
I
Oh,
completely agree with you.
yes, sir, indeed. And I love the concept of one relationship away because it's definitely true and very powerful because relationships are really where the magic happens nowadays more than ever because especially with folks trying to automate things and of course robocalls, folks are like, forget this. I don't know what the heck's going on. As opposed to a friend that may have a good rapport with people, may be like, oh, I got this product for you. It's freaking great. Or I listen to this new tune. You should check it out. And it's like that always works better. And especially nowadays where people are really having their guard up and their antennas up. So, from your experience, folks may have the experience of getting the foot in the door, but they are bad at keeping their foot in the door and keeping on top of mind with the relationships that they're cultivating. So, any tips for staying on top of mind with those relationships that you start with others?
You know, I think this is a great time to share a little bit about, my side project, which is network and grow rich, which leads them to one relationship away, right? To me, I was thinking, how can I add value to people that might not know who I am, that might not be maybe even my ideal audience, but just to serve into their life. And one of the things that I've been asked again and again by my clients is, how do you have the relationship that you have, right? Like, how do you know the people that you know, right? And to me, it's something that I discounted even for myself because it comes naturally to me, right? This is what I do all the time, right? But when they really started asking me, I created a training for them. And the training resulted in 3 concepts that make all the difference when it comes to networking, right? Answering your exact question. Number one, create a genuine connection, right, with someone. Then the next step that you want to do is create massive value, right? So often, whenever people create a genuine connection, the next thing that they do is they ask for a withdrawal before they're able to make the deposit, right? Imagine going into a
Hmm.
bank, right? You've just opened up a new bank account, right? You put in $100, right, by that initial opening of the bank, and then you go into it and you say, listen, I would like to withdraw $1,000. They'll look at you and they go crazy, right? Because you haven't put in enough into a bank account, right? And that's where I talk about relational capital, right? Add value to the person as far as what is it that they need, what would serve them first by creating either guidance or maybe gifting them a course or maybe even sharing a resource with them like a book that may make a big difference in their life, right? Spend a little bit of time to them. And once that relational capital builds up, then what you do is last C of this method is collaborate. See, how can you create a win-win scenario, right? It's not a win-lose, it's a win-win. What can you bring to the table that makes sense? And what can they bring to the table that makes sense, that creates a win-win? So just to repeat the 3 C's: connect genuinely, create value, and then collaborate powerfully.
Oh, yeah. That's right. That's right indeed. This is one of the good times to be a C student, y'all, with those 3 C's. That's what I'm talking about. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Yeah, definitely connect genuinely because a lot of folks are abusing the DM method on these social medias. Like, hey, how you doing? It's like, so what do you do? And I'm like, did you even look at my profile? Like
Well,
this thing.
here's the thing, right? And this is one of my pet peeves of all times, right? I'm somebody that can, at this point in my life, change somebody's life, right? If I choose to. And at the same time, so often when people connect with me, they're like, "Hey, how you doing?" I'm like, "Great. Tell me a little bit more about yourself." Like building relational capital. Next thing I know, they go, "By the way, I have this product or I have this opportunity," and I'm going, "You don't even know me yet."
Hmm.
Right? And even friends that I've connected with over time, right? But 3 4 years go by, and the only communication from them is like, "Oh, by the way, I'm part of the new business, can you support it?" What have you done for me recently to deepen that relationship, right? Like, to me, it's like, and that's, I think, part of the pandemic that we have when it comes to creating genuine relationships and adding value to one another and just doing better together. Like, to me, when we originally met through Dr. Fox, what did I do first? Hey, how can I make a difference in your life? Right? And after me making a difference, you said, "Listen, would you be willing to share some wisdom or serve my audience?" And it was an honor of mine, right? I didn't come to you and say, "Hey, can I be on your podcast?" Which I guess I could have, and it would have still created a great value. But to me, it would have broken my rules of connect genuinely, create value, and then collaborate powerfully.
Ah, yes, indeed. Definitely collaborate powerfully indeed. And of course, that middle one. Definitely got to create value indeed. Definitely. Some true value. That true value indeed. Not just the other parts, like true value. Like not trying to sell folks products or just send them a random article that they may have read 3 months ago.
Yeah, no, and I love it. And see, for me, I think one of the biggest things that I always talk about when it comes to creating relationships is, can you see a long term outcome versus a short term result? To me, the people that I choose to bring into my life at this point are only people that I see doing life long term with, right? People that I would like to vacation with, that I would like to build businesses with, that I actually like spending time with, because I'm not focusing on that short term result. What can I get from them? To me, first, it's what can I give? What can we create together that will make a world a better place? If you just shift that mindset into that aspect and ask yourself every time you meet a person, can I see being friends with this person 5 years from now? And if the answer is no, it's probably a good idea for you to move on, right? You can add value to them by creating a resource or connecting them with a resource. And this is one of the other things that stops so many people, actually, now that I think about. So often when people have low perceived value of themselves, they only network wide or they network below their influence.
Mm,
The way that you network up is by being a person of value. And this is how you can network up, maybe if you're not just there yet yourself, right? Number one, can you provide a solution for that high level individual? If that's not the case, that's okay. The next step of value creation in that situation would be, can you connect them to somebody that can solve their problem? Whether it's somebody like myself or maybe somebody else that you know in your network, that you have rapport, that you have that relational capital built with, and you just connect the two people. You'll get the 80% of value of that relationship, no matter what the results end up, because you were the one who connected them. And last but not least, if you don't even have the connection, choose to be their champion. And what I mean by that, find a cause or a problem that they're dealing with and say, "Listen, I don't know anybody that, I don't have a solution, or I don't know anybody that does. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to see and reach out into my network and see if somebody just may," right? Even if you just do that and then create a, a monthly connection of saying, "Hey, listen, I know that we've connected around this. I know that your pain point or you're really striving to, let's say, move this charity forward. I'm still looking for amazing individuals that will be a right fit, and just create like a report. Because once you do enough of them, that still adds value to the person. They know that you're not just talking, but you're actually doing the work, and then letting them know. That also adds value. And obviously, if you're going to tell them that you're doing the work, please do the work. Be authentic, be genuine. But those are the three ways how you can network up, even if you are maybe at a lowest place in your life, by either A, being the solution. Maybe they need somebody that helps them with something that you may not even know about, where you can be the solution. Or B, maybe connect them with somebody that you, again, can connect them to the solution. Or last but not least, you're willing to look for their solution. So that actually potentially saves them time and energy, which is one of the highest aspects and assets we own.
Definitely could say that again. Time and energy, especially. It's like, because not everybody nowadays is lucky enough to still be in their 20s with the high energy that they had in the 20s. Some people may be like, like, man, like time and energy.
And you know, one thing that does come into my mind as well that will serve, I think, your audience greatly is this. Before you're thinking about networking up, really consider networking wide first, right? First deep, then wide, then up. Why do I say that? Deep means that you create genuine relationships. Wide means that you now are creating a network, right? When I had a chance to speak with Arnold Schwarzenegger, right, and he was talking about networking. We talked about the concept that, you know, when it comes to Arnold Schwarzenegger and then Stallone, right, they were networking together first. They were connecting together and helping one another, right? That they ended up in a similar place because they were helping one another. When they would go on auditions, right? This is the behind the story of that conversation. They would basically say, "Hey, I have this audition, you should come with." One could be better for the part or not. And that's how they were just adding value to one another until they, you know, raised their value enough to where they were both A-lister actors. They both had their films, they both had their movies, right? And one of the last collaborations were, I think, the Unbreakable or whatever, they did the movie together, which was, you know, released on the world stage. And it all started with friendship and collaboration. So even if you may not have people to network up with, when you network wide first, before you know it, those opportunities will come.
Heck yeah, I could definitely say that again. Because heck, even funny enough, my start with this show is thanks to a good guy named Mike Sheila, who was a LinkedIn expert at one point, and we met through Toastmasters because our stories aligned. And he basically just connected me with probably my first somewhere between 10 and 20 guests, like for my show, like across the country, and then it eventually expanded after that. So you're so right, like definitely network wide right where you are. Like you don't always have to go below or always try to shoot for above. Like there may be someone next to you, like just playing off of your life story right now and your theme, your message, one relationship away.
Yeah, and it's like the life becomes very simple and easy when you just think, hey, who is one person that I need to connect with today, and how can I serve them? If you just take that action into your life, I am telling you that in 30 days, your life will not look the same. Because number one, you're going to be in gratitude. Number two, you're going to be at the beginning of growing one amazing network of just going through your phone, this amazing magic machine, and just seeing who have I not talked to in a while that I would like to have in my life long term, 5 to 10 years. And I'm telling you, you're going to at least find 5 people that can add amazing value into your life, but you can also add amazing value into theirs. Start there. Just one person, one conversation, one act of service.
There you go. My man's giving you an action plan too, baby. The action master, Alexei, baby. The next 30 days, at least one person. Contact them if you haven't talked to them in a while. See how they're doing. How can you add value to them? That's right, indeed. 30-day plan for action, baby. That's what I'm talking about. So since it's far from your first rodeo, is there a question that you wish you'd be asked more often when you're on the guest side of the game on these podcasts?
I think the question that comes up, right, when you're asking that question is, if you knew, right, if you had the wisdom, right, to know everything that you know, what would the question that you would ask, right? And for me, I think that question would be, what makes all the difference, or what makes the biggest difference? And whenever I've been asked that question by my clients and just people when I speak on stages, like, out of everything that you teach, like, what is that one thing that will make all the difference? And to me, I believe your environment is the greatest aspect of your life. And what I mean by that, people do not decide their future. They choose to decide, they are able to decide their environment, and their environment decides their habits, and their habits create their future. So when I talk about that, I want you to really think about, what environment are you in, right? And I'm going to give you like a bonus exercise that actually, that's in the book. And I talk about, okay, write down 5 people that you spend the most time with. So that's step number 1. That's level number 1. Just creating the awareness. Who are the people that you spend most of your time with? Just 5. Once you have done that, you write down how much time do you actually spend with him, and like create a ratio. How much time do you have, right, to spend with anybody? And then how much time do you spend? Just so that you're aware, what is the percentage of time that you're actually spending with those people? That's step number 2. And step number 3 is this. What are the conversations that you're having? What is the language that you're using? And does that group or that relationship actually moving you towards your dreams and goals, or are they slowing you down, or maybe even pulling you back? Right, once you're able to create that awareness for yourself, right, either A, you add more value and more time to those that are actually adding value into your life, or B, you remove those that stop you, slow you down, or just are a like an anchor to a boat. You let them go and you upgrade your 5. So that's a simple exercise that anybody can use to really change their life overnight. It may not happen overnight, but just by creating that awareness, creating that structure, you can always upgrade your 5. And then it could eventually grow into 10 once you're able to handle those relationships. And that's really what the One Relationship Way Blueprint teaches is, number 1, how do you start with one person, right? That will make the biggest difference in your life, and then expand to 5, and then to many more from there. So just if you do that exercise, trust me, you will have some very interesting awarenesses, especially around the conversations and the languaging that you're using. If you're talking about, the Jets, the football game, the problems in your life, and all the economy and politics, that's exactly what will show up in your life. And at the same time, if you're talking about making a difference, creating assets and investments, and creating strategic partnerships, that's what you will attract. But you have to have the awareness first to create that decision. So for me, to answer the short question in the long way, if you're able to invest time, energy, and money into highest network that you can, right? First, you want to build your network. But then the next step after that, if you can invest into one, right, whether it's One Relationship Way or another organization, it can exponentially upgrade your life, because the quality of people that are in those networks will make all the difference way faster than you can do it by yourself. And that would be the long answer to a quick question.
Hey, ain't nothing wrong with long answers. We encourage them here, especially when it's full of gems of wisdom. Like my man just brought out the magical, nah, not the genie lamp. Well, that's a skirt of wisdom. Nah, we're just gonna go with the whole pot of gold. Let's go with that. A pot of gold. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. So much gold, you'll think you're Fort Knox afterwards after listening to all this wonderful goodness. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. So we're coming down to the magical question that every guest gets to receive, and that is if you're to wake up tomorrow and you're 25 again, but this time in the current year of 2021, with all of your amassed knowledge and experience, what advice would you give to yourself?
Oh, wow. It's kind of funny because I have a similar question on my show, which is, if you were 18 again, what would the advice that you would give to your 18-year-old self and why? Similar question. And I actually never thought of it. I think it goes back to an earlier question. And if I knew where are the most powerful the relationship that I can create and what is the value that I can add to them, right? Because that would make all the difference in my life, right? For me, for a long time, I learned the things the hard way versus the smart way, right? I didn't have the wisdom enough to go, you know what, if I connect with my mentor Mike Dillard, he will teach me how to, create a business when it comes to building an email list. Or maybe it's somebody that knows how to build other businesses. Because to me, when you're like, this is the representation that I give, right? When it comes to my clients, right? If you don't have the destination, so I guess part one of answering that question would be this: what is the destination? Create clarity of what do you want your life to look like? Because if you don't have the address, the exact address of where you're going, it doesn't matter whether you are in a plane, jet, a boat, or a train, you're not going to get there. So that would be part one. Part two, once you have the destination, invest into a mentor, whether it's in finances, in time, or energy, right? Maybe in the beginning, you may not have the finances to invest, but to a real mentor, it's more important that you are bringing your willingness and action before anything else, even before finances. Most of the time, when I get compensated for my mentorship, that that $1,500 for group mentorship is not going to change a difference in my life, right? Like, come on. I'm just being honest and transparent, and it has the ability to change the person's life because they're willing to say, you know what, I'm willing to listen, I'm willing to learn, and I'm not going to disrespect your time. And in a show of faith, I'm willing to put the down payment, right, of whatever the investment is when it comes to working with me or with my team, right? So that's number one, clarity. Number two, mentor. And number three, who are the people that you are able to help along the way, right? Because getting clear will give you the destination. Having a mentor will either give you a map so you're not, literally operating in the dark. And more important, if you are able to create that relationship with a mentor, he can become the GPS. They'll not only tell you how to get there, but how do you avoid the things that you don't even know about in ahead of time, right? Because let's say if there's a traffic jam, the GPS are so smart enough these days they can say, hey, I'm redirecting, right?
Hmm.
This is a more efficient path. Because here's the thing that I've discovered, right? Mentors have wisdom, and wisdom is this. Actually, that's the third level of information, right? First, you have information, then you have knowledge, then you have wisdom, right? Information is the things that just out there, right? We have all sorts of information, YouTube and everything, right? Knowledge is knowing what to do. Wisdom is knowing what not to do. And wisdom really only comes when you are on the other end of that journey, right? When you've arrived and you go, wow, I did scale this mountain, but I know there's 3 or 4 spots where if somebody can avoid those, it can save them a lot of time, energy, and money. And as I said before, last but not least, look back and see who you can give a hand up to that will allow you to speed up your journey by serving others. So I think that is the things that I would tell to my 18-year-old self or 25-year-old self.
Hey, it's good nonetheless because it's so darn true. Because as we advance in life, we always got to make sure we help those coming behind us, especially those that appreciate it too, and those who can't really do anything in return. Because that's really where the best ROI comes from. Is like you can spiritually feel like, hey, I did something good today and didn't expect anything in return, and somebody may have gotten that chance to really decide to keep breathing and keep living.
It's interesting that, like, I've always heard about the giver's gift, right? And really, that's what it is, right? When you give unconditionally without asking for anything in return, most of my programs came because of me just serving. And all of a sudden, my clients or the people that I'm serving, they go, listen, if you could, do this for us, we'll be happy to compensate you for it. Right. So to me, it's almost like free market research as well, right? But just by, gifting, like, networking grew rich actually came with me just serving people, right? It's like, they're like, okay, we would love to know more about how do you create those powerful relationships. And I said, let me think about it. Right. And so to me, yeah, that's what I think makes a world a better place and creates value in your life. At least for me, that there's nothing better than being able to help somebody else and living the life of service.
That's right, indeed. That's right, indeed. Yes, indeed. So, for those who want to keep in contact with the amazing Alexei himself and all that he's doing, especially when he launches some more good stuff for folks to really advance their lives, what's the best way for folks to reach out to you?
I think the quickest and the easiest way would be to go to, and I'll send you the information so you can have in your notes as well. If somebody's listening or watching and while they're doing something else, that they can find it very quickly. It's alexei.life. It's Alexei.life. And that's a way how they can connect with me. And I think one of the best ways I can add value to them is check out my One Relationship Way podcast, which will be launching shortly. Probably by the time this episode airs, it will be live. And these are the conversations that I've been having with my mentors, the people that made all the difference in my life. And you get to be a fly on the wall for all those amazing interviews. We have a gentleman who started the Make a Wish Foundation, the gentleman who was the CEO of CEO Space, right? Donnie Berman. We have an amazing guest that can serve into your life. And if you wanted to create more of a connection, join our One Relationship Way group, right? All the links are going to be in the same place, very easy. And hopefully, we are able to add value to you and your audience as our way of paying it forward and making a difference in the world and making a world a brighter place.
Heck yeah. Brighter than 5,100-watt bulbs, baby. That's what I'm talking about. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Keeping it bright. So there you go, folks. Alexi.life. Head over to that site. Be on the lookout for my man's podcast, One Relationship Away, because yours truly is definitely going to go into sponge mode when that show launches, baby, because it's going to be full of great content for you to not only absorb, but also squeeze out into your life by taking the right action afterwards, because you can't just absorb all your life. You got to let some of it out.
Well, and listen, that is the secret to life, right? One of the patterns that I've discovered, after failing enough was, learn, do, teach, rest. That puts balance into your life, right? Because before I discovered, that pattern, I was in burnout, I was in depression, and I was in suicidal thoughts. But when I was able to learn, implement the learning so that I can get the results, share the results with others and teach them what did I learn. And here's the cool part about it, right? When you're resting, they're doing, right? You're seeing who are the deserving and who are just needy. Who are the people that you want to add more value to, and who are the people that may need to shift their mindset before you give them your precious time, energy, and money.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. So learn, do, teach, and rest. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. I'm so glad you put rest in there because at one point, I feel like it's died down a bit, the whole hustle and grind movement where you just grind constantly and you get no sleep. I feel like that died down a bit over these past few months because it needed to just basically die down because the body's built for rest. Like we at least have at least get 1 day of rest a week. It's required.
Well, and really connects with another message that I'm a big proponent of. Stop working hard, start playing smart, right? There is a level of hustle that you need to bring to the table. That said, eventually, if you don't create strategic success, that hustle actually gets you to the shadow aspect of it, and that's burnout, right? So often, when that, whether it's Gary Vee or others, Grant Cardone is really big with that message of hustle, hustle, hustle. You can be doing a lot of things wrong, and that hustle is not getting you further ahead, right? So it's really seeing, what are those strategic aspects that you can do, that you can play smart, you can create that success, you can create that momentum that will make all the difference in your life, right? Without, just hustling your way through it. Because it was actually Tony Robbins, and I don't know if they were doing the research or he was just sharing the research, that after a certain amount of hustle, right, when you burn through your ATP, which is a chemical in your brain, your actual production drops almost 60 to 80%. So now, yes, you're putting in the time, but the thing that comes out is at best 20 to 30, maybe 40% good, compared if you got the rest, if you got the reset, spend the same amount of, or invested the same amount of time, let's say additional 2 to 3 hours after rest, you would actually get 300-400% of production versus 30-40%, just because your body is at that point of, it's used up its own creative juices, that physical aspect. So yeah, super important in my belief and for so many others.
Well, amen to that. It's been an honor having you on, my man. Definitely been a freaking honor. And for those who've made it this far in the end and you haven't ran out of ink yet, like, definitely go back and listen to it again. So, any parting words for the folks before we close up shop, my man?
Well, just like I said, you're just one relationship away from the life of your dreams or the impact that you want to create in the world. So who's that relationship for you?
You just got done listening to another powerful, power-packed episode of the Going North podcast. I hope you really enjoyed what you heard. Go check out the guest stuff. It's all in the show notes on the website, donbrightman.com, and also reach out to those that you've just heard as well. And keep going north.